254th episode of CloudFocus Weekly for the second week of November 2016. This episode is titled NPSP Relaunch. CloudFocus Weekly is brought to you by Arkus, specializing in Salesforce implementations, consulting, and Force.com development. Search for Arkus, A-R-K-U-S, on the App Exchange and read what our clients have to say about us. I'm your host, Jason Atwood, and joining me, co-host with the most for 254 times in a row, Justin, middle name not to be told, Edelstein.
My middle name is out there, I think.
I was making a reference to our number one fan who wants to know your middle name.
I don't think she wants to know my middle name. I think she just doesn't know it, and I won't tell her.
Okay. We will move on from that. So we have not a light agenda, but a topic that is singular in focus, which is to talk about the Nonprofit Success Pact.
Attaboy.
I did it very well. Relaunch. So, which was done not too long ago. We have been off the podcasting circuit for a week and a half, 2 weeks?
Yeah, but it was done around Dreamforce, so this has been about a month or so.
So it gave you all the time to figure out what that meant. It
gave
me all the time to sit and wait for you to tell me what that meant. So we're going to do one of those, hey, how you doing, Justin?
Hey.
Tell me about the stuff I don't know.
Hey. So NPSP, Nonprofit Starter Pack, now equals Nonprofit Success Pack.
Why is it not NSP?
I don't know. Good question, because nonprofit is one word, but I don't know. Whoever made the acronym went ahead and said, all right, it's NPSP, and that's it.
Okay.
They went with it. I really don't know the origin behind it. I imagine it had something to do with some packages they were building, and they used NPSP as the prefix, and then they were stuck with it.
And then that's it. So why don't, because I think, so a couple things. One, Arkus, the company that I talked about in our little, who's sponsoring this podcast today.
Sponsored by Arkus.
Does about half of our business in the nonprofit world.
We do.
You know, most of our people are sort of well-versed in both sides of sort of nonprofit and non-nonprofit. I probably
double negative there.
I am probably
for-profit
and non-nonprofit.
We call that core.
I probably am one of the ones who has the least knowledge, although I've worked with the nonprofits many times, and I've put my own nonprofits onto Salesforce, and it's something I've really been around. I've known about it for a long time, but I'm not deep in the weeds with it every day as other people. So why don't we start, where all good things start, with kind of give me if I didn't know anything about what NPSP was, give me a little bit of the origin of how it came about to be, and a little bit of what it is, and then we can talk about what the relaunch is.
Sure. So I think that's a really fine place to start. So
some would say great.
Some would. I'm going to go back. I'm going to just guess. I'm going to say 9 years.
Okay.
And just to get, I really don't know. I'm just going to guess 9 years.
So when George Washington came across, I'm going to guess, 700 years ago.
About 300 years ago-ish? No, I'm guessing it's 9 years. It's 8, 9, 10 years. There was obviously from the start, from Salesforce's very start, they started out with the foundation and the 1-1-1 model, and that one of those ones is product, and that is Salesforce.com. Use the service, 10 free licenses for any 501c3. And at the time, C4s and I think even B Corps, but now 501c3s only, I believe.
I think that is true.
So they said, okay, here's our product, go. And it was well, this isn't exactly going to work, right? Salesforce, very B2B, business-to-business focused sales tool. A lot of nonprofits operate more in the B2C, we'll call them constituents in this case, and needed a model that worked a little bit better for them, right? They don't want to call things accounts. They don't want to call things opportunities. They don't want to call things leads, all the stuff that Salesforce calls these object. I'm going to put a pin because it comes back.
Because it's interesting.
It does come back.
Interesting because towards the end of the history, that'll be an interesting pin to come back on.
Okay.
The original version did what you're about to say.
Yeah, so they used to rename the tabs organizations and rename the opportunity tab donations. And came out with a couple of little things that just made it more akin to fundraising. So
we'll say what is it? What coming out with it?
The original NPSP, the starter pack.
Right.
So the starter pack was actually a series of packages that did a variety of different things that were all kind of cobbled together. Not a whole lot of settings to it, not a whole lot of flexibility. It was just here's a pre-configured, pre-installed series of managed packages that didn't update themselves.
Were they managed?
Yes.
I thought they weren't managed to start.
They were and still are.
I think they weren't and now are, but that's my guess. I think about 500 years ago they were managed.
Maybe at some point they were not, but they are now managed.
Yes, we can talk about
why.
But
you can also go find the code on GitHub. It's open source. Anywho, the idea was, all right, now you have a place to start with Salesforce that is not just regular Salesforce. It's meant for you, for fundraising, and they're called donations now, and they're not called accounts, they're called organizations.
So the idea was, you as a nonprofit, or when they gave you your free org, you could start off with something that had these managed packages or packages of Salesforce, kind of like apps that install, and they installed in Salesforce and they configured it that was more nonprofit friendly.
Yes.
In fact, way back when, and I'll now do my own little piece of history, this was a big thing for Salesforce. Salesforce did a lot of these packages and for lots of different industries.
Right.
Funny enough, most of them end up dying because no one would keep them up, right? There were ones for wealth management.
There were
There were ones for hedge funds. There was a whole bunch
of
them.
4 or 5 of them in the financial services space.
This was a big thing that they did.
Yeah, they would just sort of die off. Now they're much bigger.
But this one was written, I thought, from the outside to start. Wasn't the person who originally started it? Didn't he not work for Salesforce to start?
I don't know the history of it.
Thank you for being on my podcast.
Well,
Next week, I'm going to get someone who knows the history.
I don't know. Potentially, maybe, perhaps. I imagine that person or people probably work at Salesforce now, but either way, the idea was that you could now, they came up with a way to have a contact without an account.
Right.
Or you could choose another model, which was kind of a bucket of individuals. And then slowly but surely, all those things morphed into, okay, now we have relationships, and we have things called affiliations, and we have roll-ups from opportunities all the way up through to contacts, and also through to the accounts that a contact might be associated with. And then they figured out the whole one contact to multiple accounts scenario. So through the years, they figured out a lot through this architecture. And in doing so, they made a decision when they went from what was Nonprofit Starter Pack 2.x, which was still a compilation of packages. I think there was like 7-ish, to Nonprofit Starter Pack 3, which is what I would consider the birth of the Nonprofit Success Pack, because Nonprofit Starter Pack 3 to me seemed very mature. It was one package. It was a managed package. It has a 2-week release cycle with continuous integration.
Let's stop there. I want to talk about that because that's actually innovative. Like that's something. So talk about what that means. So like go a little bit deeper and a little bit. Just don't throw out your little release cycle integration, continuous integration. Give me a deeper dive.
Okay, so every 2 weeks there are sprints for features and bugs. You can even follow them. I believe you can follow them on GitHub. You can also follow them in the Power of Us hub in the in the group that's specified for the nonprofit success pack, and they will make incremental changes over the course of 2 weeks and then deploy those changes out to everybody. So everybody gets them. You get the benefit of just, okay, new features every 2 weeks. It's not in lockstep with the Salesforce 3 times a year release schedule, right? Because you're getting something every 2 weeks. And because of the scenario that they've hooked up, because they have this continuous integration with their master, you just get updates every 2 weeks of new features and new functionality. And you can, again, like I said, follow what's kind of coming in what's in the backlog, what's coming. A lot of this is community driven. A lot of this is driven by the nonprofits that use the pack itself. They'll have sprint days in just different cities all over the country. It's really fascinating the way that this product has taken off. And, you know, there's I was trying to find the number. I know that there's probably close to 30,000 nonprofits using Salesforce, and I don't know for sure how many are using the nonprofit success pack. I don't know if it's a number they make public or not, but I have to imagine it's at least half of them.
We know that they can have a number because every time you have a managed package, you obviously know, and when you push out things as part of the release schedule.
Yeah, I'm just saying I don't know if it's a known thing.
So what I think is interesting is, so it's like cloud inception, because you're on software as a service. So Salesforce software as a service, continuous rollout of new features. You cannot stop them. It's coming. Sometimes that's wonderful. Sometimes that's difficult. But you get 3 releases a year. We just went through winter 17, and I just saw some roadmap stuff for spring. So, you know, it's a very kind of continuous thing, even 3 times a year. If you're talking like in enterprise, this then is a package inside of Salesforce, which is doing 3 releases a year, that is releasing every 2 weeks. Now, of course, they're not as big every single time. Sometimes they're just bug fixes or whatever. You know, as a old school software developer, we know that this type of agile Scrum, you know, sprint type of methodology is very consistent and what's the word? Not obtainable, maintainable, okay. Right? So you can stay on this kind of pace because you're not killing yourself for 6 months and then like all your developers have, you know, not slept for 2 months because they got to get the release out there. And basically, if something isn't ready, it just doesn't go into that release. It just goes to the next release, and no one has a fit. It's like, okay, well, it's just not ready. It needs to go a little bit further. So what I love is that I don't know of other packages inside of Salesforce, or maybe you do know of, that are managed packages from, let's not even call it a vendor, but from, you know, that another managed package that has this going for it. I know there's others that push out changes. I know there's others that have. Obviously, you know, all managed packages can push out changes to you, to your org. But I don't know of another sort of software vendor inside of Salesforce that's doing this.
I don't know how Salesforce distributes the health cloud or the financial services cloud. I mean, they'd be the same vendor technically, although one's Salesforce.org and one's Salesforce.com.
Right.
I don't know of other vendors who are doing their app distribution via continuous integration. I know that there was like major push upgrade as like a big feature thing about a year or 2 ago. I don't know if that ever actually made its way into the platform or not. There's a lot of talk about it, but it's not the same as just every 2 weeks getting new features.
And it's not there's no difference about this managed package than, let's say, the permissioner. If we wanted to have a 2 week release cycle,
we could,
right? So I guess that's the point. It's not really a technological bridge they've done. This is the way we're going to approach this package and the features and the bugs, and we're going to keep on a very good schedule, and that will, you know, make people happy. There's also a downside to it, because if something goes wrong in one of those packages, you got no you got no recourse. You have to wait. You have to wait. Oh, they can do emergency fixes, but that stuff happens. But obviously, it's a good team and full of developers. So anyway, I think it's just fascinating that they're doing it. I just don't know any other vendors that are doing it. And they have probably one of the biggest install bases of all managed packages in Salesforce. I mean, other than they must have the biggest install base.
I bet they do not, but
Who do you think has a bigger install base?
Conga.
You think Conga has more than 20,000 customers?
I don't know if NPSP has more than 20,000 customers.
I was making just a guess. You said 30,000 nonprofits use
My
Salesforce.
guess is Conga has more than 20,000 customers, yes.
I bet they... no, I don't think so. I don't think they have more than 20,000 customers. I think they have...
I bet they do.
I bet they have tons and tons of licenses that might add up.
I bet they have more than 20,000 customers.
Maybe someone from Conga who's listening to this podcast will let us know.
Maybe, or
I can go to the website.
I imagine they won't, but sure.
Maybe they will. Please? No?
Pretty please? I'm certain they do. That's
Okay.
just my guess.
All right. So
Yeah.
let's bring us to
All right.
the future, or
do it.
the new release.
It's more than a starter pack now. It's built for success. It's outgrown its own name. It's ready to go.
Well, at least they didn't have to change the acronym.
Yeah, no, that was smart. Don't do acronyms if you can't just stick with them.
Yeah.
Now I just got to retrain myself to say success instead of starter. And I agree. I mean, it's beyond starter.
Right.
You can use it as is, a little bit of brain power, and get it going. And I got to give them a lot of credit too, because what makes something beyond a starter pack is not just the technology and not just the productization of the technology. It's the documentation around the technology as well. So beyond just being a starter pack because here and just figure it out, you've got really nice screens to set the thing up and make it work the way you need it to work. You have really great documentation in the way of knowledge articles and the Power of Us Hub community supporting it. I think there's like 14,000 members in that group alone, and people just getting answers to questions. So there's a huge infrastructure around the application or the package itself that makes it beyond a starter pack.
And part of it's just branding, right? When people, when you're a nonprofit and you're looking at, and we're both coughing into our mics, it's terrible. Where's our cough button? It's just turn around.
Yeah, it's just look up and turn around.
Just turn around so no one can hear you. Train of thought. I mean, it's a
train of thought gone.
No, branding. I mean, it's a branding thing as well. The starter sort of feels like it's not real. It feels like it's just the beginning. You don't feel like you're getting something that's fully blown. And I think, from the outside, not knowing, not talking to anybody, just making my own opinions, which that's what I've been doing for 254 podcasts. I have a feeling that this has a little to do with the NGO Connect piece, that there was going to be, again, totally throwing it out there in the world, but I'm saying I think that they were going to keep the nonprofit starter pack, and NGO Connect was kind of, it was like little brother and big brother. And then when they kind of decided to change their course on NGO Connect and turn that into a strategic partner and not a sort of sold by Salesforce thing, I think they thought, well, then the thing that we kind of have still that's ours, I think we should make it feel a little bit more solid. That feel right? Sound true?
Sounds about right. Because it is the go-to-market product for Salesforce now. With nonprofits, it's Enterprise Edition or this. And even with the nonprofit, with the 10 free, their versions of their licenses are actually pretty awesome.
Right.
They're SKUs that like don't exist. Right. They're like Enterprise CRM something or other, because they include Sales and Service Cloud licenses with them. They're this hybrid license type that is kind of a unicorn, if you will. I think. Anyway. So why don't we hit the high notes on why this is now the success pack and not just a starter pack. So we'll start with some small little stuff. So first of all, we talked about just the way that everything's organized and installed, upgraded, etc. you have the ability at a very high level. You can manage households, organizations, your contacts, your addresses. Going back to the old renaming, they did a 180 on that, and
good thing you did the
thank
360.
you, and decided to just go back to leave it alone. If people want to rename them, and they can rename them, they are accounts because they have record types, and those record types are households or organizations. You can't call it one, you can't call it the other. Maybe in Lightning, maybe at some point you can have, like, you could probably build a tab for organizations and a tab for households if you want. Yeah. But at this point, you got accounts, which represent households and organizations. You have contacts, which represent your constituents, either your donors or your volunteers. And there's addresses. So addresses can kind of hang off, seasonal, things of that nature.
So I want to stop you there. I think that's absolutely brilliant. It has always, sort of our policy at Arkus is rename infrequently and only if really told to you. Like, yeah, there's a learning curve, but relabeling stuff just for relabeling's sake can cause much more confusion than you think. And I was so surprised when I think I saw the webinar, I don't forget what it was, like 9 months ago, and they're like, yeah, we don't. I think it was when they were talking about, first they're talking about Lightning and nonprofits are success pack of $1. And they showed it, and it was opportunities. I was like, whoa.
Yeah, they're called opportunity donations. It's kind of what they call them, but the tab is just opportunity. Yeah. And because there's so many different types, they're not just donations, they're grants, they're major gifts, they're in kind.
Right.
So you can't just call it a donation because a donation has a meaning. And what if it is a grant? That's not a, technically sure donation, but they're different things.
Right.
So calling it an opportunity allows you to then just train to, well, no, there's different types.
Right.
And some of them are one and done, easy, one payment done. And others are major gifts from big time donors, and others are big grants from foundations, and hence the reason why you have, organizations and households, and all is right in the world with the labeling. So getting into kind of some of the interesting stuff that they've added into the fold. So there's a much easier and better way to manage matching gifts. So there are ways now that you can actually find gifts that are given that are meant to be matched. So from either side. So there's a button when you create a matching gift to go find the gift that's supposed to have been matched.
That's the scenario where you as an employee of Arkus give $100, and Arkus says, "I want to match that with another $100."
Yep.
And then this is a way of matching them up, so you can tell that this organization did that match.
Yes, okay. And then you can even have a partial soft credit even for the person when the organization makes the matched gift. So really nice screens for finding, and then really nice data relationships on the back end to help understand, like, oh, this was really a donation made by Arkus, but it was matched because Jason gave $100 or something like that. So some really nice screens and roll-up functionality that help with the matching gifts. There's some new fields and stuff that have happened with in-kind. So they've just made in-kind a little bit more of a grown-up record type. So there's, just new fields and things that are shipping for fair market value. What type is it? Good, stock, whatever. And then fields to say, like, what exactly you received. There's some major gift enhancements. So there's renamed some of the fields and in particular an object. So there used to be an object, something that you would always have to build. So this is, again, a reason why this is no longer a starter pack and it's now a success pack. You always used to build this object called grant deadlines or grant deliverables or grant something, because you want to track when something is due. If it's a grant, you typically have time at which you need to deliver a report, whether it be a narrative or some sort of financial report to your foundation or the government or whoever's giving you the grant. And you always have to build this object called like grant deliverable, grant deadline, something. And this is now part of the pack. It's called deliverables now. And it has some really, they've simplified it quite a bit. So there's a close date, a due date, a requirements field. Just helps you. And again, because you're on the platform, you can create workflows on that, create list views on that, create reports on that help you manage your work and your workflow. That can definitely help you out. Other just fields that they've added for major gifts, where there's things that you're asking for, gift strategy. So what strategy are you using to get this? A closed lost reason, because you want to capture those things for bigger opportunities. In my opinion, there's two really big changes that have happened, and they kind of play off of each other. One plays off the other really in a very cool way. I think you'll appreciate this quite a bit, having done something like this in the past.
I'm in total suspense.
All right. So they've created something called an engagement plan. An engagement plan is like an action plan.
Action plans?
That's right.
I remember action plans.
Right on. And basically they've redone action plans, but they've called them engagement plans. They have templates. So you can create an engagement plan template with a bunch of tasks. And here's the cool part, right? So you can assign an engagement plan to a record. Sure, you can assign it to an account, let's say. Okay, I've got a major donor here, and I want to create an engagement plan by adding the major donor template, which then creates a series of tasks for me to do on a timeline. When this one's done, create this one, all that stuff.
That's the thing that action plans did very well, is that it was dependent. So it would not fire, because obviously in Salesforce I can create tasks and I can have a bunch of tasks that are all done in workflows and now Process Builder. But this one, they were dependent. So you could say, this task doesn't even fire, meaning it doesn't even show up in Salesforce until this other task is due.
Right.
And that's what was so cool about action plans.
That's right. And then they reskinned the user interface for creating templates using the Lightning design system, the whole thing. And here's the cool part.
So that wasn't the cool part?
That's not even the cool part.
Jeez.
Because to me, that's just action plans. But the ability to use it on different objects. They've created something called levels. Now, a level is kind of what you'd think it is.
They go to 11?
Well, it's more like this account is a bronze account. This account is a silver account.
Okay.
This account is a gold account. And it has a level, and then you actually have a previous level. And they're both like lookups. A level is actually an object.
Oh, it's an object, okay.
So you have like your current level and your previous level. And it's based on a configuration. So you can say I'm going to use account as an example. This year, if they've given less than $1,000 or less than $100, then they're bronze. If they've given greater than or equal to 100 but less than 1,000, then they're silver.
It's automated?
Yeah.
And it's based on their donations.
Correct, because donations roll up to the accounts.
Right.
So then, all right, so gold and then like platinum.
Whatever.
Right?
You create as many as you want.
Awesome. Create as many levels as you want. And you can base it on fields. So you can base it on their average gift or their best gift year total. So maybe it's just their best gift year was like $1 million.
Or their total gifting.
Total.
If over $1 million.
Employees. Right. Whatever field you feel like doing it off of on an account.
That's pretty cool.
It's pretty neat. Now here's where this gets even more cool.
What?
When someone goes into a level, it can kick them into an engagement plan. How cool is that? So if you're now all of a sudden in the platinum level,
You get
I'm
the
going to
platinum
kick you into this platinum engagement
I'm
plan.
going to assign this a platinum engagement plan template to you, which will then
automatically.
Right.
That's really cool.
That's
for a
pretty cool.
household or for an organization.
Pretty powerful.
Pretty powerful stuff. That's not starter stuff. That's success stuff right there. That's cool. I can think of that's functionality that I want right now.
I wish they had come and talked to me about the branding. I'm thinking nonprofit super PAC.
Super PAC.
Oh.
We can call it whatever we want.
Nonprofit super PAC. I'm just saying.
So
it's gonna stick.
Again, that was kind of the big one to me. I thought that was fantastic. The levels and the engagement plans and allowing them to play off of each other. And since they're objects, you can click on one and see who's
right.
all in there.
Right.
So I find, and you can relate them to all sorts of different things. So you can have it at a contact level, an account level. That's where they kind of make the most sense to me. But you could also put an opportunity through an engagement plan, right?
Yeah.
If it's a big opportunity. Yeah. So lots of robust features. Just really putting the pedal to the metal here. Every 2 weeks getting new stuff. I think this is a really just putting the stake in the ground and saying this is not just a starter pack anymore. You can really succeed, move forward with this thing.
You're really buying
I'm
all in on the branding.
I'm all in on the branding.
One word.
I'm all in.
It's not really starter anymore.
It's not starter.
Really,
it's success. It is success.
I think it's super.
It's fantastic.
So that
don't make fun of me.
That's the best part of this podcast.
Stop it.
In next episode, I just make fun of you for 45 minutes.
You're the worst.
So that's the relaunch of the nonprofit super PAC. So much better. I'm telling you. Super PAC. Next week, we're going to do some catch up on. You can get this all on salesforce.org if you want to read all about it. It's on their blog.
Yep.
And you can read all about it.
Power of Us Hub. Hop in there.
Tons of places. Next week, we're going to do some blog catching up. We also have some winter stuff to catch up on. So we have those coming out. We'll do some blog catch up. We'll do some winter catch up. But now, the moment you've been maving for, the CloudFocus app pick of the week. Justin, why don't you start us off today?
Okay.
Just say today and only. You're going to start off first.
All right.
Give me your pick of the week.
Today only. I'm starting off first.
I don't want.
I think I've started off 254 times.
That's correct. So let's not break that streak.
All right. Well, it's November.
Cubs can win, and we can actually keep going.
It's November.
It is November.
It's November 7th.
Are you going to pick a political thing?
Nope.
Okay.
You saw me on October 31st.
Anybody who tweets directly at me, I'll send you a picture of what he looked like.
Yep. What was different about my whole thing that was going on here? What was different about the punum?
You bring Yiddish into this conversation?
What was different?
About your face?
Yeah.
On
October 31st.
This is a long, drawn-out way of saying that you shaved your beard.
I did. I shaved my whole face, and I did it so that I can just grow it back in Movember.
But Movember is supposed to be for mustaches.
No, it's no shave November. That's a misconception.
Oh. So you're not. So you will not shave this month?
I will not be shaving this month.
So as much as you looked like weird without your beard, you look terrible when it turns into like Shaggy Dog. So I'm not. So I'm looking forward to basically
December 1st.
I'm looking forward to December 1st. Well, in about a week, you'll be where I think you look good.
And thanks, bud.
In about a week, and I think, yeah. So that's
all right.
it.
Anyway, so I'm picking the Movember Mobile App because it's a well done app, and Movember, just so we can throw it out there, is, I mean, I think of it as the month after Breast Cancer Awareness Month, where breast cancer awareness month is in October, and then the men were like, give us November. So we took November for men's health awareness, and I'm raising some money for specifically for men's mental health awareness. And you can find my profile, which I created all on a mobile device, on the Movember Mobile App, which is free. Signed up. You can go look at my Twitter feed. I tweeted it out there. I'll maybe tweet it again sometime
That's
soon.
how you raise money, is you tweet more than
Facebook,
once.
tweets, whatever. I've raised like almost $600, which is pretty good.
Solid.
And I picked the Movember Mobile App on iOS.
Nice.
Not for everyone, and kind of useful for 1 month out of the year, but still.
So, but is that app an app that I would if I weren't doing Movember, would I use that app?
I don't think you would.
So it's only to set up your own thing.
You set it up. I feel like there's a community aspect to it, but it's not apparent to me. So I'll say like sort of yes, sort of no. There's some, they try to build in like get healthier. So like go do like challenges, like sports challenges, like doing activities, like log your activities. Well, I already do that elsewhere. And it's like take pictures of yourself every day and like put them in there.
No.
Well, my wife's taking pictures of me like every day because she does that kind of thing. The little lady, I should say.
Creepy. All right.
Instead, you'll be happy when we have them. So.
Okay. So I donated. I said
Thanks,
I wasn't going to donate until you.
You
I
need
saw
a proof
picture, and I now have the picture.
I selfied it right to you.
The beauty is, I was able to go back and find, and this is a actually good Segui right here. So quick backstory. We're doing okay in time. Quick backstory is that Sierra, the new Mac OS, which I've been on for a couple weeks, which I'm finding pretty good, Sierra and the new iOSs that came out have a new feature of photos, which is much better facial recognition. Meaning it'll go through your thing and it'll recognize people and it can categorize them, and it does these memories, and if you're in a memory, it'll show you like who you're with, and it'll also scan. It'll also, like, if you go into it on a day, it'll say here you were like 3 years ago. Some stuff they stole from Facebook, but it's all private, so none of this data gets anywhere. It's only on your computer. Anywho, but I have had many photos. I have 54,000 photos that I've taken because I've had a digital camera since 1996 or 7. So I've had, no, that can't be that. It would be, yeah, roughly 97. 97, I think I got my digital camera. Maybe 96. So the point is, I have lots and lots and lots of digital photos. Of course, way back then, I look at them now, and they're like, I mean, it was like
Did it come with like a 8 megabyte memory card?
No, though. I think the first one I had you couldn't even swap it out. You just had to plug it in every time. And it took like a 640 by 640 or something ridiculous. You should see these pictures. Anyway, so Sierra has better photo. I had photos, but over the years, iPhoto has not been able to deal with a lot of photos. So at one point, I had to split them all up, and I had to split up all my albums into different albums. That's not good for this software, because this software wants to look through, for the new photos, look through everything. So I had to put them back together like Frankenstein and pull them off my Drobo, which it's huge. Plus, Sierra now does iPhotos where if you have a huge photo library, it'll actually throw all the originals in the cloud and only leave you the stuff you need on your desktop. So I have, I think like 200 gigabyte something photo album, but like on the desktop it's only like 20 because it's keeping them in the cloud. So it means all my devices, they're all there. So screw. So anyway, I need to add them back. There's no easy way to do this. So I bought software. A company called Fat Cat Software makes a piece of thing called Power Photos. It went through, I could give it 2 albums and say merge them and dedupe them at the same time. I didn't lose any metadata like places and times and like even like what, I can go back and see like the first photo, what it was shot by, what kind of camera. I did lose any of the faces I had pre-recognized because I had done it for a couple albums. But since this new software kind of does it again, it's kind of interesting. So Power Photos for OS X, it works with Sierra to get them all into photos. So I'm kind of making photos, and it's pretty cool. It actually, even the one downside, so I've got them all together now. It's great. It's churned through them. It took like 3 days for this process to run in the background to like find all the faces. It's very cool. It'll find faces that you didn't even know. You have pictures of friends or whatever. I was able to go back and find a picture of you like super quick, like from whatever, 10 years ago when I'd seen you without, the closest I've ever seen you shaved. I'd say the one downside, this isn't Power Photos. Power Photos is awesome. It's $29, totally worth it. It took many hours, but it was worth it. It deduped, it did all the great stuff. The one issue with Photos and the iOS is it doesn't sync. The photos sync, but the facial stuff does not sync. Meaning, if I tag you on my iPhone or my iPad or my desktop, it doesn't retag. It doesn't know to tag you across. Apple says that's a privacy thing. Because if it has to know you across the cloud, then I'm basically giving Apple your facial. Now, Google does this all the time. Google doesn't care. Google tag you all over the place. So it's a privacy issue, but it's also a feature. So it's one of those things. Like, you have to kind of decide, well, do I want privacy or do I want, to tag all these people and give it to the cloud? Anyway, so that's one of the things. They might figure out a way to get around the privacy. For now, I just stuck it on the desktop. Very cool. Photos for Sierra is very good. It handles my huge album. And Power Photos for OS X is a way to merge them. It can also do all sorts of deduping. It can split them. It can do all sorts of stuff. Worth the $29. Saved me many, many hours. All right, well, that's it. Follow Justin and his growing beard at Just Edelstein. Follow me and my newly shaved goatee at Jason M. Atwood. That rhymed. At Arkus Inc. is the company. Facebook.com/Arkus Inc. Success Community and Power of Us group hubs for all of your nonprofit super PAC. LinkedIn, Google+, subscribe and review in Stitcher and on the Tunes of I. It's Justin Jason saying, enjoy those cloudy days.